Know your Lord. We learn about his names and his attributes. Know your Lord. What he approves and disapproves. Know your Lord. Believe in all things that he has brought forth. Know his oneness, Lord.
Know Your Lord, part of the Right Belief series by Sheikh Kareem Abu Zaid, right here on Sunnahfollowers. Being taught by Ustada Layla Nashiba as she lays down the foundations to get you together. Learn about your Lord. Know your Lord. Streaming on all major platforms. Channel Sunnahfollowers. Assalamu alaikum. Get to know your Lord. First part of the Right Belief series by Sheikh Kareem Abu Zaid. This dynamic literary work of art's main goal is to revive an understanding the names and attributes of Allah. And understanding the name and attributes of Allah will elevate our faith, strengthen us, and keep us steadfast. This wonderful book is now available in an audiobook format and can be found free of charge on YouTube, channel Kareem Abu Zaid. Get to know your Lord. You have nothing to lose.
Our class, the first class for today, and this is our Akida class. And as I always try to emphasize with you guys every day, of all the classes that we teach here at Sunnahfollowers, this is the most important one of all, because if your belief system is not correct, if you do not believe in the names and attributes of Allah the way the companions did, if your understanding of the meaning of those names and attributes is not correct, then you're just wasting your time with any good deeds that you do in this world. You know, they're not going to be accepted of you. You're not going to die upon the straight path. You'll just be more fuel for the hellfire. And this is why the Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam encouraged the companions to be consistent, to be regular and consistent in checking their belief system, to not just say that we believe that you believe in Allah, but say it with certainty, that certainty of faith, that yaqeen, that certainty of faith. We have to have it. And a lot of people think they have certainty of faith, but they don't. And if you look at how the Muslims are behaving in the world today, if you look at what we're doing, the sins and atrocities that we are committing, we're voting for kafirs. We're participating in kafir elections when this is a horrific sin. Allah is clear. Allah tells us in the Quran that we can never, ever, ever trust that the non-believers will ever have our interests at heart. Allah tells us that their only desire is our destruction. And you would think that the Muslims would have learned that, from participating in the elections with Obama, who began this genocide. But no, they didn't listen then. And unfortunately, they're not listening now. We got Muslims going around voting, participating in the elections. We've even got Muslims supporting LGBTQ. We got famous personalities here in America who claim to believe la ilaha illallah, and they're telling you to vote for the green rainbow, which is the LGBTQ. So we're twisted as a nation. And because we're so twisted as a nation, that's why Allah, has sent all these calamities to us, all this punishment to us as a nation. The war came from him. The war is from him. That war is not going to stop unless he makes it stop. So you guys can vote in these elections all you want to. You can trust in man. You can pray to man. You can really make yourself believe that some LGBTQ woman and man have the power, to stop what Allah has willed. And you're going to realize that you're on the losing side. Okay. And as I've been trying to get you guys to understand the reason why Allah has sent the war and all these other calamities is because he's angry. He says whenever we deviate away from Tawheed or Rububiyah, whenever we deviate away from believing in his lordship, there will be terrible repercussions, and the repercussions are here. And unfortunately, most Muslims are not acknowledging them or admitting to them because their belief system is tainted. Okay, they don't believe in Allah's lordship. And that's why we've been focusing in on the lordship of Allah. We've been focusing in on his names and attributes. And let me put the PowerPoint up on the screen for tonight's lecture. I'm going to start off like I promised you guys with a quiz over what we discussed yesterday. For those of you who are new to my classes, you can purchase the book. We're using the book entitled Get to Know Your Lord. Let me put it here. And this is how the book looks, the green book. You have an adult version and a children's version. Please get both because my classes are family oriented. The children are participating in this class every day too. If you guys listen to the audio, you will hear that most of the answers are coming from the kids. The kids are answering most of the questions here. Okay, so it's called Know Your Lord. The book is written by Sheikh Kareem Abu Zayd. That's his picture there. And being that we're living in such trying times, you should know who you're seeking your knowledge from. That's why I'm using his picture, so you know who he is. He wrote that book, and also the children's version. And so tonight we're going to be covering pages 132 through 135 of the adult book. And that's still pages 231 to 241 of the children book, the whole chapter for the kids. And at the end of the children's book, at the end of that chapter, there's questions, 10 questions. Please have your children take 2 questions a day. Please sit down with your children and have them answer 2 questions a day. So that way, when they come to my class, it's all still fresh on their mind. Okay. So tonight we're going to continue in the book our discussion of how Muslims have, and I don't know how to take this down. This is this crazy Zoom. We're going to speak about how Muslims deviate and their understanding of the names and attributes of Allah. And when it comes to the deviation, there's 4 categories as to how they deviate in understanding the meaning of Allah's names. And as I go over those categories tonight, ask yourself, do you belong in one of those categories? If the answer is yes, then you need to change your way of thinking real quick, because that's not the correct way to think. But before I get into that, I have a couple of questions from yesterday. I can't stand this thing in the way, and I cannot make it go down. I don't know why it's connected with Zoom, and nothing I can do. Okay, let's look at the first question here. Is this question true or false? This statement true or false? The companions had different opinions regarding the meaning of some of Allah's names and attributes. Is this statement true or false? Yesterday, we spoke about how the companions did differ on some issues. Did they differ regarding the meaning of Allah's names and attributes? Is this statement true or false? Let's hear your answers.
It's false.
Okay, she said it's false. What about anyone else? People on Zoom, on Twitch, on Twitter, on LinkedIn. Yeah, you people on LinkedIn, y'all know the answer. This is where most of my Arabs are. Rumble, do you guys agree? The question is, the companions had different opinions regarding the meaning of some of Allah's names and attributes. Is this statement true or false? She said true. Who said true? Did anybody say true? Did you say true, Mina?
No, I said it's false.
Okay.
Differ.
Okay, she said false. Aya said false. Okay, good.
I said false.
Okay. Okay.
I said false.
Okay, good job. MashaAllah. Okay, everybody got that right. This is false. This is false. The companions did not differ in regards to the law, the names and attributes of Allah. What did they have different opinions regarding about the religion? If it wasn't the Allah's names and attributes or Aqidah, what were their differences in regards to? Can anybody remember? Speak English, because you don't know what the meaning of that word.
Like I'm trying to think of like the guidelines of doing things.
That's not what fiqh means either. Say it in English,
Okay.
people. What did the companions differ in? It's just plain simple English words. Shahid said women issues. No, they didn't differ in women issues. You guys don't know that now, and you hear me and Jamali say this all the time. Okay, the companions didn't differ in regards to Aqidah. Aqidah is our belief system. And that's the same with the scholars today, the true scholars. We don't differ in Aqidah matters. That's why you will listen to a person like Sheikh Atlee speak about the religion, the basics about faith, the basics of the religion about Allah. You will listen to Kareem Abu Zaid. You will listen to me. You will listen to Jamali. You will listen to, and we all sound the same. You'll be like, wow, he's saying the same thing Layla's saying. Layla's saying the same thing he's saying. So, and that's how the companions were. They never differed in regards to belief issues. So what did they differ in, guys? If they didn't differ in regards to belief issues in our religion, what aspect of the religion did they differ in? There's only really one other aspect. What is it? This is, y'all don't know the basics? Okay, Sakina said they differed in how many names? Is that true? Did the companions have different opinions regarding the names of Allah, guys? What do y'all think about that answer? Is that true? Did they differ regarding the names, how many names Allah had?
No, not the companions.
No, the companions, that's Aqidah, that's belief. They didn't differ in nothing regarding belief. What did they have different opinions about? You guys really can't think of the answer?
I want to say it was some of the rules too, because
okay, well, give me the English words. What do we call it? What is it that Islam is based? Okay, what does that fall under? What is that in Islam? Our religion is based on belief in Allah, and then we have what? The rules, the laws, Sharia. If you're gonna play the Arabic game, it's called Sharia. The laws of Allah, guys. Come on. Fiqh is an Arabic word that means understanding, Layla. Fiqh does not mean rules. It means understanding. If I was to speak in Fusha, I'd say, if I was going to say I understand you, and I would use the word fiqh for understand, okay? That's not so. That's why I say the laws, the rules, our religion is composed of believing in Allah and also obeying his commands, following his rules, following his laws, following his guidelines. So what did the companions differ in? They didn't differ in belief in Allah. They just had different views on Allah's laws, on Allah's rules, not the obligations, the laws, the rules for something. Y'all understand? For example, who can give me an example of something that they differed on regarding the laws or rules? Think about the praying class I teach. What did they differ on about praying?
Where to place your hands?
No, not the companions on that. No, that's Shiites. No. What did they differ on? Whether to recite out behind the imam or not. Remember, we talked about that. In reciting the Fatiha. Should I cite the Fatiha to myself, or should I just listen? Some of the companions said you recite to yourself. Others said no, you listen, and that's the correct answer. We listen. Ibn Abbas, Ibn Umar, they said you don't recite after the imam, you listen. But it was Abu Huraira who said, recite to yourself. So they may differ on stuff like that, okay? But they never differed in regards to Allah, his lordship, his names, his attributes. All of that is belief in Allah. And that's how the scholars are today. If you look at Sheikh, for example, Sheikh Uthaymeen, may Allah be pleased with him and forgive him of his sins, and Sheikh Albani and Sheikh bin Baz, they're all dead now. But they all agreed. And when it came to the Aqidah issues, but they had different views in regards to the laws. Okay? So that's how it is today. But Aqidah, we don't play with. There's only one belief, one way of believing in Allah, guys. And you have to believe in him the way he commanded us to believe in him. And we have to worship him the way he commanded. Everybody understand? Is that clear? Do y'all understand that in the Zoom room?
No. So you know how they said it's an issue of fiqh when they say it's an issue because different.
No, this is why I tell y'all don't use Arabic unless you know what you fiqh means understanding. When you hear people talking about understanding, they're talking about the four imams. I don't teach y'all the four imams. I'm teaching y'all the Prophet Muhammad, Allah, and those companions. Okay? Fiqh is an Arabic word that means understanding. The four imams had different understandings. And some of those understandings were completely wrong, like that Mincy stuff. A lot of you women are praying on your periods, which is a major sin, because you following the understanding of someone other than those companions. We don't follow anyone's understanding, guys, but the companions. If the companions speak, then there's no need for me to look to see what Sheikh Albani or what the four imams or Ibn Taymiyyah or anybody else had to say, because they don't understand this religion better than those original companions. Y'all understand? Is it clear now? So that's why I tell y'all, speak in your language. You don't understand what them Arabic words mean. Use English. That way y'all can answer better. When y'all try to play the language game, it just shows me y'all confused. Say it in plain English, because I want y'all to be able to teach y'all kids this religion correctly. Okay? So the companions never differed regarding belief in Allah. They may have had different views regarding the laws of Islam, but not belief in Allah. Is that clear? Y'all understand that? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So
I always thought fiqh was laws, but it's not laws. To understand.
The Arabic word for law is Sharia. But I'm not teaching y'all Arabic because none of y'all are Arabs and you don't speak it. I'm teaching y'all in your language, English. Arabs don't speak Arabic either. Don't y'all know that? They speak slang. Jamali was telling y'all that yesterday. Y'all got to understand the Fusha. That's the language of the Quran. Most Arabs themselves don't speak Fusha. How many of them, y'all? That's why they read the English. They don't understand them words in Arabic. Okay, but that's a different topic. This ain't no Arabic class. This is regular English. So I want y'all to write that down and remember, because this is important. The companions never differed when it came to Aqidah. Okay, so I think I was going to ask another question with that too. Oh yeah, I did. Yes. The only thing that they differed about, and it was only 4 issues, even in regards, just so y'all know for the record, even in regards to the laws of Allah, it's only 4 things they differed on. You know, they didn't differ in much of anything. Okay, so let's go to this question here. What about this? The companions had different views regarding the qadr or predestination. Is that one of the things? Is this statement true or false? The companions had different views regarding predestination. Is that one of the things they differed on?
No, this statement is false because it's Aqidah, and they're on the same page with the Aqidah. It's the implementation and the understanding is where they differ.
Okay, what do y'all think of her answer? Good. It's good to hear your voice, Geechee. Y'all agree with her?
Yeah.
Exactly. This was a trick question I threw in here to see, because I knew y'all was going to get the first one wrong. See, the teacher knows her students. Threw this in to see if y'all understand. Exactly, this is false, because the decree of Allah or predestination, is that a law? Is that a rule? No, that's an Aqidah issue, as Geechee said. They didn't differ in regards to belief in Allah. Okay, good job, Geechee. Everybody understand that answer? And why is that? Aqidah. Belief in the decree of Allah, predestination, is a belief issue. It's not a law. It's not a rule. Okay. What about this? If I were to ask you guys this, did the companions differ in regards to how many heavens and how many hells there were? Did they differ in regards to that?
No, they did not.
Why?
Here again, that's Akita.
Exactly. That's belief. We talk about paradise and hell. That's a belief issue. They didn't differ in that. Okay. What about this? Did the companions differ in regards to what happens in the grave and the questioning of the grave? Did they differ in regards to that? Did they differ in regards to death? What happens when a person dies? What happens in the grave or any of that? Did they have different opinions in regards to that?
No.
Why not?
That's Akita also.
Exactly. That's belief too. Okay. Did they differ in regards to the fact that we have to fast the month of Ramadan?
No, they did not differ on that.
What about this? Did they differ in regards to that we have to pray 5 times a day?
No.
Exactly. All of that is belief. Belief. They didn't differ in regards to issues of belief. They only had several different things, and those were dealing with laws or rules, but not the obligations, and not the belief. Everybody understand that? Is that clear now? So if I ask these type of questions again, y'all won't get that wrong. So what about this? Did they differ in regards to whether or not Allah has hands or whether Allah has eyes? Did they differ in regards to that?
No, they did not.
What do you guys think on Facebook? Did the companions have different views on whether or not Allah has hands or Allah has a face or how Allah looks? Did they have different views on any of that?
No.
Good job. The good job, because that's belief. That's Aqidah. You understand, Sister Sakina? Yeah, the names of Allah, his attributes, all of that is Aqidah. They didn't have no issues with that. Did they differ in regards to whether or not Allah rose above his throne?
No, they did not.
That's Akida also.
Exactly, that's belief. So anything that entails belief in Allah and Allah's obligations and stuff, they were the obligations we owe him and all of that. They had no issues in that. That stuff happened. When did all these issues concerning belief in Allah appear? Can anybody remember? We talked about it yesterday. The companions didn't have those issues. When did these issues of belief emerge? Can anybody remember?
After the death of one of the companions, I think was Umar.
No,
Last,
that's wrong. Anybody else?
last,
Yeah. Or was it when the emergence of after the 4 imams and we have
That's not true either. We went over, I taught you guys this yesterday. When did all this difference of opinion regarding Aqidah begin?
when the Christians,
Islam spread.
Say it again.
when the Christians came to Islam, they
Yes, when Islam spread. Exactly. It didn't have, that's why I tell y'all pay attention. And in Mukhtar's class, he's teaching y'all the history of Islam. When Islam spread from out of Arabia to the other territories, to the Christians, the Romans, the Persians, that's when all this stuff began to change. Y'all understand? And that's what you guys were learning yesterday. You learned about the battle of Ajdain. Those people converted to Islam, those Romans, but they also brought a bunch of their crazy stuff into it. In fact, after those Romans converted to Islam after that battle, that's when the Roman women went to Medina, a delegation of them with their husbands. They went to Medina to learn the religion. And when they came into Medina, they were sent to Aisha. The women were sent to Aisha. And when Aisha saw them coming to her home, she said, "Oh, no, you ain't coming in my house." They said, "Why not?" Aisha said, "I can never allow you naked looking women in my house." She said, "You women wear see-through clothing," because the Roman women, they wore see-through tunics, just like y'all see in the ancient movies. They wore the long flowing dresses, but their dresses were see-through. And they didn't know. But when Aisha saw them coming, she said, "Nah, y'all got to go and put some clothes on, because the way you women are dressed is haram." They said, "But we're covered, mother of believers." She said, "But we can see through you. That fabric is see-through." And that's when Aisha said, "I heard that where you women come from, that y'all take baths together naked too." She said, "Is that true, that you women take baths together naked?" They said, "Oh yes, we Roman women love the public baths." She said, "Well, you're cursed for that in Islam. She said, my husband, the prophet said that Allah said any woman who removes her clothes from out of her husband's home, she has torn down the screen between herself and Allah. And those women were sincere about Islam. When Aisha told them this, they left and they put blankets over them. They took the blankets off the saddles of their horses and camels and tied them around their bodies and entered into her house so she could teach them. Okay? And the source of all that is in Sahih Bukhari and Muslim and also Muwatta. So again, it's when Islam began to spread out of Arabia as the Muslims were fighting the Christians and fighting the Romans and fighting the Persians. And even more when they started fighting against the Indians and fighting against the Africans. That's when all this crazy, distorted way of viewing Allah's names and attributes began. You know, that's how innovation and shirk, you know, comes around as the religion moves around. Exactly. When people convert to Islam, they bring in some of their practices. But Aisha let those Roman women know, ain't no more public baths. She said, y'all taking baths together? Oh, and not in this religion. We don't play that hanky-panky, stanky stuff. Aisha let them know, ain't no hanky-panky, stanky. And y'all got to cover it. Y'all wearing those beautiful silk because the Roman women wore silk. The Arab women wore silk too. But the silk that the Arab women wore, that Aisha and them wore, was not see-through. The Romans wore that sheer silk. Okay, she said, no, y'all got to get rid of that crap. Everybody understands. So, again, the companions had the same views regarding Aqidah. They only differed on some of the laws or the rules. Like, for example, that famous hadith we talk about, how Ibn Masud, they all agreed that we have to pray and all that. But here's a rule. Ibn Masud was of the view that a woman broke a man's prayer. Aisha had to check him. She had to let him know that's not correct. And Ibn Abbas and Ibn Umar had to correct him too and let him know. So they differed on stuff like that, but not belief in Allah. And the only reason they differed was because Ibn Masud didn't know, you know, that Aisha was a sutra for the prophet. He didn't live with the prophet like she did. She knew the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam better because she was a woman and she was his wife, and she knew better how he reacted with women. So that was a common, that was an understandable disagreement that he had. Okay, but not other stuff. So what about this? I think I got one more question from yesterday. Is this statement true or false? Allah is everywhere. What do y'all think?
False.
False.
False. False.
Brother Ahmed on YouTube, what do you think? Brother Ahmed, is that statement true or false? Allah is everywhere. I want to hear from my new shahadas. Okay, Ahmed said false. Amy, is it true or false? Allah is everywhere. Bethany? Good job, Bethany. It's false. Good job, Amy. It's false. Good job, Edward. False. Good job, the new shahada here. I can't pronounce your name. Good job. Oh, I'm sorry. That's the Russian brother. I'm sorry. The brother from Russia. Woo. Good job. So why is this statement false? Why is it false that Allah is everywhere? Why is that statement false? Good job, Pamela.
Sits above his throne.
Good job, because he's above his throne. Good job. And this is where the fitna began. Mukhtar talked about the battle how the Muslims fought in Basra. How the Muslims got control of Basra when they had the 4 castles that they fought the last time in this class last week in Basra. Those were the Persians. Now, those Persians converted to Islam. And they claim that they really did claim to believe in Allah. But they had a problem. They said, you are saying that Allah is above his throne. But we were also taught that Allah comes down every night during the last third of the night. And he spreads out his hands and he asks, is there anyone who has something they want to ask from me? So they said, we don't believe that Allah is just above his throne. We don't believe that. He's everywhere. He's everywhere. And that's when that started, as we talked about. That's when Islam had spread through the Persian Empire. The Persians were Magians. They embraced Islam. So a lot of you guys, when I tell you that that's one of the sciences of learning the Hadith, learning the Quran, you have to know the history. And I tell y'all all the time, there's no such thing as a book. There is no book that you can buy that's going to tell you the history of a hadith or any of that. You got to learn Sirat al-Rasul. You got to learn the life of the prophet. You got to learn about the first 4 caliphs. You know, you got to learn all of that. Learn about those companions. That's the history. Learning their lives. Learning how Islam spread through during those first 3 caliphs' time. That's when you learn the history behind those hadiths and all of that, because the companions are the ones narrating to you. They're the ones telling you, you know, what the prophet said and here's what happened and all of that. Okay, so the deviation in Aqidah, you know, it began as Islam began to spread. Now, the companions were all together in their belief system, and they corrected the people. Just like when those Persians came to make Hajj, they ran into Ibn Umar, and they said, we heard that Allah is above his throne, but it doesn't make sense to us. A man back where we live says that Allah is not above his throne, that he's everywhere. And that's when Ibn Umar said, you go back and tell that man he's wrong and he's not upon the same religion as us. If he doesn't believe that Allah is above his throne, then he's not upon the same deen as us. He ain't no different than the Magian he was before he converted. So the companions would check them on that. But still, the people, you know, people are people. Just like I cannot convince you guys to stop that it's haram, even though you've seen the verses, you've read the hadiths, I've given you all the examples and the proof that it's haram to vote. You people still voting. That's how man is. Man is arrogant by nature, even though the companions would check them. Even though Aisha checked those Roman women, there were still women that like to wear see-through clothing. And even to this day, they doing it to this day. So this is the arrogance of man. Okay. All right. So that's what we talked about yesterday, the names of Allah. And I gave y'all the history of how the people began to deviate away from the true meaning. Today, we're going to speak more about that. Let me make the PowerPoint larger. And in Arabic, it's called Ilhad. Ilhad. Ilhad refers to the inclination or the desire to turn away from something or to deviate away from something. And in this case, it's turning away from the truth. is deviating away from the true meaning of Allah's names, the true meaning of Allah's attributes. You're deviating away or turning away from the correct belief system. That's why we have to really work on correcting this. Okay? Now, the correct understanding of the people of the Sunnah, and when I say people of the Sunnah, I'm speaking about those of us who are upon the traditional Islam. And the traditional Islam is not what these famous men and women in America are upon. They're called progressive Muslims. No, the traditional Islam is what the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam came with, and it's the understanding that his companions had of this religion. If your understanding of this religion differs from the companions, you are not a person of the Sunnah. Okay? So the correct understanding of the people of the Sunnah is to refer issues of belief to whatever the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam taught us and how his companions understood it. So we understand the names and attributes of Allah the way they did. And those companions believed that Allah's attributes are real. They're not representational. The companions believe that his attributes are true and free from any imperfections. And Allah's attributes are free from any deficiencies. And also, his attributes are nothing like ours. His attributes are nothing like any of the rest of his creation, even if they have the same name. Even if Allah has hands, which he does have, his hands are not like yours and mine. We're not even supposed to imagine what kind of hands he has. His eyes are not like yours and mine. So we're not supposed to ask if his eyes are blue, red, brown. Okay? This is the understanding that those original companions had, and that's the understanding that we should have as well. So the correct belief in Allah's names and attributes are, number one, we affirm whatever he says about himself in the Quran and whatever the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam described of him. And when we do that, we do it without negating what they've said. We do it without distorting what they've said. And we do it without corrupting the meaning of what they said. And we never question the nature of Allah's names and attributes. And nor do we try to say that his names and attributes resemble anything that is like us or any of his other creations. And I want y'all to take a screenshot of this. This is the basic Aqidah. If you are not following this here, you're messed up. You're not on the right path. Like Ibn Umar said, you're not one of us. You're not upon the religion that I'm upon. Okay? So, I'm going to break down these 4 categories of Ilhad, or these 4 categories of deviation. The first one is negation. And negation is an English word that means to reject something or to deny something. I negate my age. I deny my age. I reject my age. That's an example I'm using in a sentence. So to negate means to deny something. So if a person is going to deny or reject any or some of Allah's names and attributes, they've disqualified themselves as being a true believer. And I'm going to give you an example. Remember, we talked about how the Arabs believed in Allah. They believed that he was the creator of mankind, but they didn't believe that he was the only deity worthy of worship. And they also used to reject his name, Ar-Rahman, the most merciful. And the reason that they rejected that name is because they used to say, if Allah is so merciful, then why is our environment so bad? Remember, they lived in the desert. They didn't have water. Plants didn't grow. The mountains are ugly. They're black. They're scary. So they used to reject or deny the fact that Allah was Ar-Rahman, because if he was Ar-Rahman, why is our environment so desolate? To reject any of Allah's names means you don't believe in him. And that's another reason why, even though the Arabs claim that they believed that Allah was the creator of everything, they still were kafir. Okay? Another example of negation is to recognize a name but deny the attribute that it infers to. For example, the people of innovation, people like the Sufis. This is big. A lot of these Murjia. Most American Muslims fall in the category of Murjia. The people of Bid'ah, like the Murjia, they'll say that Allah has a name. He is As-Sami, which means he's the one who hears everything. They'll recognize that name. Allah, he is the one that hears everything. But then they'll say he has no hearing. Wait a minute. You are denying the attribute of hearing. What do you mean? One of Allah's names is he's the all-hearing, but you deny that he can hear? Well, guess what? You've invalidated your belief in Allah. So we have to not only recognize the name, but also the attribute that comes with it. Another example are the Christians. The Christians are people of the book, just like us. They say that they believe in Allah too, just like us. They also will say that Allah is one. Okay? They'll say that Allah is one. There is only one God. You will find Christians that say that. But they do not give him the unique qualities of oneness. They don't give him the unique qualities. They still call upon someone other than him. They also refer to him as being a father and all of this other stuff. So negation, rejection, denial of Allah's names, to deny any of his names, to reject any of his attributes. This totally invalidates your belief in him. And as you can see, how many of you fall in this category? I don't want you to say, but if you are one of those people, you know, who will accept one of Allah's names, like he's the all-hearing, but reject that he hears everything, you're in this category. The second category of denial is to give Allah names without evidence. In other words, to call upon him using a name that he doesn't use for himself. This means to refer names to Allah, which he did not affirm for himself. This is deviation because the names and attributes of Allah are taken from the Quran and the authentic hadiths from Allah and then his prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. No one can assert or deny distinguishing characteristics or nominations of Allah without evidence. Evidence from the Quran and the authentic hadith. Okay? But believe it or not, there's a lot of Muslims out there who have given Allah names and attributes too that he is not affirmed for himself. And anyone who does that, has made a big folly. And let me give you an example. We got Muslims today with all these PhDs, PhDs in psychology, PhDs in philosophy. The philosophers have named Allah the actual cause. The Masons, they have named Allah the great architect of the universe. The Christians call Allah the Father. Allah doesn't refer to himself as being the father of mankind. Allah doesn't refer to himself as being the architect of the universe. Allah doesn't refer to himself as the actual cause. So we can't make up these names for him. Does that make sense? You guys let me know. Do y'all understand that? Because a lot of people do this. A lot of Muslims do this. The Punisher. How many of you have heard another Muslim refer to Allah as the Punisher? Because Allah punishes. Okay? He doesn't call himself the Punisher. Even though he does punish, you can't make up names like that. Okay? Okay, good. Just want to make sure. Okay. And then the third category of Ilhad is, and a lot of Muslims do this too, to make resemblance of likeness with the creation. In other words, to imagine or try to link Allah to you. Okay, we're all created in Allah's image. And this is true, but it doesn't mean what y'all think it means. We have a hadith where one of the companions said that we are all created in Allah's image. He said, and this companion, it was Ibn Abbas, as a matter of fact. Ibn Abbas says the Christians, they take that to mean that Allah created us to look like him. But in reality, as the Prophet Muhammad explained, when Allah said he created us in his image, that means that he created us the way he imagined and wanted us to be. That's what that means. That doesn't mean he created us to look like him. As Ibn Abbas explained, Allah created us the way he wanted us to be. That's what's meant by in his image. It does not mean, to look like him. Whenever we try to reckon Allah to his creation, we invalidate our belief in him. We don't go around ascribing qualities of the creation to the names which Allah has given himself. This is deviation. Listen to what Sheikh Uthaymeen, may Allah forgive him of his sins and make his grave spacious, said. He said, whoever believes that the names of Allah denotes likening of Allah to his creation, then that person has made the words of Allah and his prophet infer disbelief. So don't ever try to liken yourself to looking like him or liken Allah to looking like anything that he created. Also, Allah tells us, here's the dalil. Allah says in the interpretation of the meaning, there is nothing like him. Nothing like him. Nothing like him. He is the all-hearing and the all-seeing. Does everybody see that? And also Allah says, do you know of anyone or anything that is equal to him? So these two verses of the Quran right here, Allah is letting us know that he's nothing like his creation. And nothing in his creation is equal to him. Not in appearance, not in morality, not in logic, not in anything. Y'all understand that? How many Muslims do this though? If you're one of them, you better check it. And then the last category of Ilhad is to give names of Allah, give the names of Allah to his creation. You know, I'm always using the example of Judge Judy. When every time her commercial comes on TV, they call her the judge of all judges. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. This is shirk. The judge of all judges is Allah. You can't give his name to his creation. The pagan Arabs were notorious for this too, guys. For example, they gave his name Allah, and his name El Aziz, and his name El Manan. They gave to their idols. They named their idols his names. So Allah came back at them. Allah said in the interpretation of the meaning, have you considered El Lot and El Uzza and Manat, the third of the other one? In other words, you are equating them to me. You're giving them my names and equating them to me. Also, as Sheikh Uthaymeen, may Allah forgive him of his sins, said, it is not allowed to ascribe the meanings, donating these names to any created being for the sake of offering him or her that which only Allah deserves from worship. But we find Muslims doing this all the time. I'm going to give y'all a big example of one of the names that Muslims use today that is, I can't stand to hear. And the brothers that use this name are the worst Muslims I know. Mufti. Do y'all know the meaning of that name? If the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam heard somebody calling himself Mufti, he would get angry and he would tell that person, change your name. Because that's a title of arrogance. How dare you call yourself Mufti? Mufti means you are the all-knowing, that you are the most intelligent, that you know more than anybody. The prophet said we can't even call ourselves taqwa because only Allah knows who's pious. So how dare you brothers think y'all can call yourself Mufti when only Allah knows who's the most intelligent? That's a lesson that even Prophet Moses alayhi salam had to learn. When a man came to Moses and asked him, oh Moses, who's the most knowledgeable? Moses said, I am, because I'm Allah's prophet. Allah said, oh no, you ain't. So to teach him a lesson, Allah sent him to meet El-Khidr. And from that lesson, Moses learned that only Allah knows who's the most intelligent. But we got young boys and older men calling themselves Mufti. And you guys want to know why Allah has sent war?